What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to continue with our team preview and prediction series for the 2021 college football season. And today we are going to be talking about the Texas A&M Aggies. Hey, if you guys enjoy, please leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you're brand new to the channel or you just enjoy my content. Ring the bell as well because I'm uploading a lot of content this summer. You want to be sure you stick around for all of that. Also, please leave a comment down below. You can tell me your thoughts on the video. You can tell me some other teams you'd like to see me look at. Give me some video ideas. Whatever, just leave your thoughts in the comment box down below. And hey, share the video with everyone you know because I'm trying to grow this channel as big as possible. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a team this year that I believe, well, I've stated as being overrated. Do I think they're necessarily super overrated? Not really, but I think other people are hyping this team up a little too much. We're going to backtrack to last year. They were so close to getting into the college football playoff. Just a matter of votes in that college football playoff committee room, and it ended up being Notre Dame instead of Texas A&M. Now, a lot of people disagreed with that, and they made that known. But regardless, I don't think anyone was going to beat Alabama last year. Anyway, regardless, Texas A&M coming back in this year, and a lot of people seem to think they're going to be right back to where they were last year. Contending for a playoff spot, being in that 11-1 undefeated range, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Yes, Texas A&M is going to be a really good team this year, but I'm not a huge believer in the Aggies as of right now. I have them at number 12 in my AP poll for a reason, and it's a lot of questions. Mainly on the offensive side. Of course, quarterback Kellen Mond is gone. You also got top target Jamon Osborne also leaving. But this is what really drives me. 4 starting offensive linemen are gone. 4 of them. That is insane. They're going to have to fill holes on the offensive line, and I think Texas A&M can do it. But then that coupling with the new quarterback coming in, and it's how is that going to look? I'm just so unsure of how that's going to look for Texas A&M this year. We'll talk about who their starter might be here in a little bit. But going back to Jamon Osborne, that's a huge loss for Texas A&M. Was the top target by far, maybe except the tight end we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But Jamon Osborne leaving is huge. I don't know how much I can state that it's a big loss. They're going to be looking for a new top target, and I feel like I have a guy that might be that top target. But of course, it's going to be difficult to find someone, at least in the wide receiver core, straight off the bat. On the defensive side, you got Bobby Brown, Buddy Johnson, Anthony Hines, and just as of this afternoon, actually, Elijah Blades, a defensive back who was pretty solid in 2019, entered his name into the transfer portal. So he is no longer a Texas A&M Aggie. He's no longer a Texas A&M Aggie, as are the 3 other defensive players I just mentioned. But as the saying goes, it's not about what you lost, it's about what you have. And Texas A&M's got a lot of good pieces, but who will be that quarterback? That is the question. Zach Calzada and Haynes King are the 2 contenders there. It seems like Haynes King is going to be that starter. Now, how true that is, I don't know. But again, it's June, so nothing is set in stone. But it's going to be one of those 2 guys. It'll be interesting to see how that battle shapes out. And we're going to skip a couple names as far as the starting offensive lineman. Kenyon Green is coming back. A projected NFL starter. He should be the staple on the offensive line this year. As for other position players on the offensive side, you got Isaiah Spiller coming back, one of the best backs in the SEC and one of the best backs in the nation. He should be really good this year. And as far as that top target, I do think it's going to be Chase Lane. Had just over 400 yards last year. I think he's going to be that new favorite target for Haynes King or Zach Calzada besides Jalen Weidermeyer. Jalen Weidermeyer probably end up being the Kyle Pitts type player of college football this year. Probably, he's definitely the number 1 tight end coming in. He's dominant. He can catch the ball. He can do anything. Jalen Weidermeyer is a name you got to watch out for this year. On the defensive side, you got guys like DeMarvin Leal, Aaron Hansford, Leon O'Neal, and Jalen Jones. I'm talking about DeMarvin Leal. Really good. Probably the best defensive end this year as well. He should be really good. Probably going to end up being a first-round draft pick as well. So a couple names you got to watch out for the Aggies. Hey, here's a first look at their schedule. They were 9-1 in 2020, 8-1 in the SEC, second in the SEC West, and they won the Orange Bowl against North Carolina. You guys know how this works. I'm going to walk through every single game. I'll talk about some games more than others, as they're more interesting matchups to me. If it gets highlighted in green, it's a win. If it gets highlighted in red, it is a loss. So without further ado, let's talk about Texas A&M this year. And they're starting off with Kent State. Kent State's an interesting team because I think a lot of people seem to overlook Kent State and a lot of the talent that they have. Because they have some good players. They really do. They have some good guys. A lot of people forget about Dustin Crum, one of the best quarterbacks in the group of five realm, that is. He's really good. But can Kent State match Texas A&M? No, absolutely not. Texas A&M's got too much talent. And while Kent State might be able to hang around for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter at most, Texas A&M should be able to pull away from this one relatively easily. Then comes an interesting matchup against Colorado. I'm not a huge fan of the Colorado Buffaloes this year. I just don't think that they're going to be that good. And their quarterback, Sam Neuer, I believe just entered the transfer portal. So he is no longer a Colorado Buffalo, and they're going to have to find someone else to play that quarterback position. Again, just so many things for Colorado that are not in their favor. I like the Aggies to be able to win this one. Colorado could hang around for a little bit, much like the Kent State game, but Texas A&M should be able to pull away from that one relatively easily. Another relatively easy win going to come for them against the Lobos of New Mexico. Should be able to roll over New Mexico, no problem. Texas A&M should start the season 3-0 before going into SEC play. And they're starting off with a tricky one. In a quote-unquote neutral site, it's really home field advantage for Texas A&M, if you ask me. A little farther from College Station, but still in the state of Texas. It's going to be played in Arlington against the Arkansas Razorbacks. We saw Arkansas last year give Georgia a little bit of a hard time, be able to compete a little bit better in the SEC, now not compete with a lot of the other top names, but they were able to somewhat compete in the SEC. Now, 3-7, you might say, well, that's terrible. They were bad, right? Not as bad as previous years. Arkansas showed some major signs of improvement, and I think that continues into this year. I'm a huge fan of Arkansas this year. I think they're going to be able to put together a pretty nice season, maybe even get to a bowl game. You have to wait to find out my predictions on Arkansas. Yes, I am doing a video on them. But this game should be interesting for at least the first half. Arkansas should be able to hang around for a little bit. And it could be one of those games that a lot of people look at the score at halftime and think, oh my God, can Arkansas do this? I don't see an upset here. I think Texas A&M's got too much talent. I do think Texas A&M's going to be able to, if the score is close at halftime, pull away in the second half, and they should be able to win that game. Mississippi State, a home game next up for Texas A&M. I called Mississippi State my number one most overrated team coming into this year, and I'm not going to sway from that opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Mississippi State this year. I don't like where they're going. The Mike Leach air attacks got to get a couple years, and the KJ Costello didn't work out. Just so many things for Mississippi State that I just don't like. I do think Texas A&M should be able to win that one fairly easily. Alabama, the next game up, and this is where troubles start for Texas A&M. And this is where a lot of people seem to think Texas A&M can compete. A lot of people seem to think, oh, Texas A&M, they can do it. They can pull off an upset. And to me, I don't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this game in red. If you see my Alabama video, you already know what my prediction is here. But I just don't see Texas A&M pulling off an upset here. The fact of the matter is Alabama is too deep of a team. And we saw it last year. And we're even seeing it this spring. They lost so many pieces this offseason. And it seems like, well, how can a team recover from that? Well, if you're Alabama, you can recover from that real easily. And Alabama's showing no signs of slowing down this year. I just don't like this matchup for Texas A&M. Alabama, in my opinion, is far and away the better team. I do like the Crimson Tide to give Texas A&M their first loss of the season. Then a road game against Missouri is the next game up for Texas A&M. And as far as Missouri goes, I'm not a huge fan of Missouri either. A lot of people seem to think Missouri can be that second best team in the SEC East. I don't think that's even remotely close. I think they're good, middle of the pack SEC team, but I don't think they're going to be anything super special. They were a surprise last year for sure, but will that surprise continue into this year? I'm gonna say no. I don't think I'm not a huge believer in the Missouri Tigers this year. A decent team, yes, 6-6, 7-5, possibly, but to win this game, pull off an upset, I don't like their chances. Give me the Aggies. A home game against South Carolina. South Carolina is probably going to be abysmal this year yet again. Kevin Harris is a name that you do have to watch out for, though. And they got a couple good linebackers over there at South Carolina. But to pull off this magnitude of an upset on the road is near impossible for South Carolina. I do like the Aggies to win that one as well. And then comes Texas A&M's bye week. This is a pretty okay time for a bye week, in my opinion. Comes right before a game against Auburn. Now, how good is Auburn going to be this year? I really have no idea. Gus Malzahn is out, but they still got a lot of solid playmakers over there. Tank Bigsby, Bo Nix, Seth Williams. Defensive side of the ball worries me a little bit. And while I expect the offensive line to improve, it's still nothing special. I think DeMarvin Leal is going to have a field day against Auburn in this game, and I think the Aggies are going to be able to get a relatively easy win again. I think Auburn can hang around for a little bit, but Texas A&M should be able to pull away from this game. Okay, this 3-game stretch for Texas A&M towards the end, minus the game against Prairie View, probably the toughest that they have this season. On the road against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a team that a lot of people are high on this year, including myself. I think Ole Miss could be a really, really good team this year. Now, how good? Again, you'll have to wait to find out when I look at Ole Miss this year. But as far as right now, I mean, look, we know Ole Miss can score. They did it last year against Alabama. They did it last year against pretty much everyone in the country. It's the defensive side of the ball where Ole Miss has to get better. And they are losing some guys to the transfer portal, bringing in a couple guys as well, but I don't know if it's enough to greatly improve that defense and make it take the next step. And this very well could be a game of first to 50 wins. Ole Miss can score with anybody in the country. They have one of the best offenses in the SEC, could be one of the best offenses in the nation. Now, pulling off an upset here against Texas A&M, absolutely possible. I almost picked this upset. I really did. But I do think that Texas A&M, they got their offensive line together. The quarterback, whether it be Zach Calzada or Haynes King, is playing really well. That defense is probably taken into that next step. I do like Texas A&M to beat Ole Miss here. I do think it's going to be a pretty darn close game. And Ole Miss, again, this could be an upset. I do think Ole Miss has the potential to pull it off. I just think Texas A&M is going to be able to get that one done. I'm going to skip through Prairie View A&M. Texas A&M should be rolling over them. And then the game against LSU. This is another one I had a hard time picking, but LSU returns quite a bit of talent this year. And while you might say, well, they were horrible last year, LSU is going to be nowhere near as bad as they were last year. It's just impossible for LSU to be more bad. Now, this team in LSU is upset prone, in my opinion. You'll see that evident when I do my LSU predictions. And as far as this game, I think it's going to be really close. Remember that 7 overtime classic that we had a couple years ago? Yeah, I think it could be another one of those types of games. Now, no, I'm not saying it goes in the 7 overtimes, and God, I hope it doesn't. I stayed up and watched that game in 2018. It was crazy. But for LSU, Texas A&M, and for this game, I like the Tigers. I do. I like the Tigers to win this game. Just, hey, and Texas A&M could win the game. Yes, absolutely. I just think LSU playing at home, they're going to be so much better than last season. Just something about this game speaks to me that LSU is going to win the game. So there you have it. Hey, 2 games are highlighted in red. You know what that means. I have Texas A&M going 10-2 in 2021. 11-1, I think, is their best case scenario. And I know a lot of people seem to think Texas A&M is 11-1 at worst. No, they're 11-1 at best. I don't think they're going to be able to beat Bama. And even if they do, I think they'll drop a game to Ole Miss or LSU, maybe Auburn. And 8-4 is this worst case scenario. I mean, look, replacing a quarterback is not an easy thing to do. And hey, I mean, getting this offense moving might be a little bit of a tricky thing for whoever starts at the helm. Now, could they switch quarterbacks midseason? Yes, absolutely. But 8-4 I see is my absolute worst case scenario for Texas A&M. And that is going to do it for my Texas A&M team preview and prediction for 2021. I have the Aggies going 10-2. Hey, sorry, knocked my phone off. Hey, remember to leave a like on this video. It helps get the video out to more people, or excuse me, to as many people as possible. You can also subscribe, hit the button down below, ring the bell so you know when I upload. Again, I'm uploading a lot of content this summer. You want to be sure you stick around. You can leave a comment down below. Tell me your thoughts on this video, what you think Texas A&M is going to do. And the next team we're going to be looking at tomorrow, yes, I know it's Friday. We're going to be looking at the North Carolina Tar Heels. Can they contend in the SEC? You're going to find out tomorrow. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all of you guys tomorrow when we talk about the North Carolina Tar Heels. Goodbye.